an MRE, and a knife. So we've got, this is going to be basically, we're going to open menu 3, chicken noodle and vegetables in sauce, and I'm going to eat some of this for my breakfast. What we're using for a knife today is a Swiss Army knife. Now what's kind of unique about this is I bought this years ago, and it was at a yard sale. The scales here were broken, and you know, I just kind of sat it somewhere forever. And then I came across it again after reading some of the things about the plus scales being available. Now the plus scales are scales that include, they do include the standard tweezers toothpick, but they have an addition here, and that addition is a ballpoint pen, and that, I think that's really valuable to have with you. You know, and then it can be in your pocket, and you know, the chances of it leaking out and getting on you are very slim because it's inside the tool. In this size knife, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5 layers. I would say this is about the maximum that would be that you'd want to carry around in your pocket. After that, they just get too big and bulky. But I just used one of the tools on this the other day, so we're going to show something about the thing. And this is an awl. You can see it's got a sharp edge, and what makes it an awl instead of a reamer is this small hole right here. That means you could, normally you would punch through, you could put some type of threading through that and punch, and you continue, and you could actually sew something up, repair something. In this case, what I did with it is I just made it a hole in my belt so the belt could be tighter. So what we're going to use today out of this is we're going to use a small blade. A philosophy that some people use with this is the idea that both blades are sharpened, but they never use the small one except for really intricate things. That way it will always remain sharp. But we're going to use it today on the meal. And why are we using it on the meal? Because I have arthritis, and opening these sometimes is quite the pain, literally. Oh, and I want to point out too, this came from Army Barracks, $13.99. They're the only place locally that you can get them at a decent price. They're available at Cabela's, but they're way more expensive. I don't understand why. And so we're going to open this up and see what's in it. And like I say, eat one of the components, 1 or 2. Oops. We got to do it a little more. These bags are extremely rugged. So if you wanted, you could carry water in this bag. You could do all kinds of things in it. In most places, you're going to be carrying out trash, so that's what it can be used for. But this particular one, we've got another bag inside. So it's double bagged. Let's see if we've got a year on any of these things that I can see. Or on the outside of this. I'll have to look these numbers up, but there's coding on here, but it isn't completely obvious what the date is that they're good for. It tells the time they were produced. So once again, we're going to open it. It's interesting, they got a thing here the long way, kind of frilled on the edges. I assume that's so you can tear it easier somehow, but I'm not going to do it that way. I'm sure if I had to, I could get in one of these without a knife. But let's see what we actually have. Here we have the chicken and noodle, actual meal part of it. Here's the holder that goes in when you do the flameless heater. Chicken noodle soup. I'll just do a couple values. 160 calories, sodium 40%, Protein, 18 grams. So that's a lot of protein. Now, salt, you got to remember, these are made for soldiers that are active. And they actually are going to then need a higher salt content in their food because they're going to be sweating a lot. And a lot of that, that sodium is going to be in the sweat of theirs that they give off when they're working or whatever. Then we've got, ooh, this is going to be good, raspberry applesauce. And this is in a neat little container where you rip the top and then you just roll it and eat it. Oh, we have some Skittles. Ooh. We have some of their peanut butter. Their peanut butter is good. Their chocolate peanut butter is really, really good. Orange-based powder tropical punch. I don't like this. All the powdered drinks. Now you're getting 120 calories, and it's got some vitamin C. Wow, it's got 60% of your vitamin C. So that's something to consider. The idea that you should be eating it drinking it anyway, no matter how it tastes. We've got their crackers. Ooh, we have some apple jelly. That's neat. So the crackers, you could do apple or peanut butter. Here's a famous ration heater. How you work this is you rip it. Usually these I can rip. At the top, you put in water up to this level, and there's an exothermic chemical reaction that happens that produces heat, and you have your entree in here, or sometimes they have a component for a hot drink you can use in here, but you can only generally do one thing in this, so maybe you have to choose. I've read that a lot of soldiers just get used to drink. This would be the thing that goes in this. This is the chicken noodle soup. A lot of soldiers just don't do this and just eat it like this, cold. Of course, they taste better warm. Here we've got, this is really neat. These are the hot beverage bags, okay? This is extremely, extremely solid plastic. It's got measurements on it here. So the idea that you could do, I'm sure, here's the accessory pack. We'll see what's in that. But there's probably some coffee or something like that. But if you wanted a small bag to put something in that's rugged, this is the thing to do. And there's some places that even sell these separate. And I just think they're really excellent bags to have if you need something, say you've got some first aid items or something you want to put in your pocket that you want to keep dry. I think these bags are excellent. We have the much coveted MRE spoon. Now, something's changed about this. Let's see if this one's like that. Okay, normally you had a long spoon so you could get down to the bottom. Excuse me. But now they're putting the chair along the long side, so you don't actually need one this long. It'd be interesting to see at what point they'll say, maybe they get 100 million of these in a warehouse somewhere, but eventually they could save some plastic and weight for the soldiers, not much, but by making this smaller. And here's the little accessory pack, and here's the item here that they stopped having the Tabasco, and I guess the servicemen complained, so they put it back. So in other words, what can I say? Some of these things don't taste that well to many people, and if you like Tabasco sauce, you just put that on there, and depending on how hot this is, you won't notice how much the meal tastes as far as bad or good. So let's look in the accessory pack. And like I say, what I'm going to do is, with this, I think I'm going to put the accessories in here. These are neat as a little, you could take you can buy, again, most of these components you can get separately, but this would make a nice little thing to add into your any type of emergency kit or whatever that you have, and we'll go through why. And it would be important too not to break the seal like I am if you wanted this for the components. You've got a minuscule amount of toilet paper. That must take some real skill to know how to use. There's not much fiber in the MREs so that soldiers don't have to go to the bathroom a lot, but there is some here. I think this could work with the matches for fire starting. So like I say, here you have kind of two survival items right here. You've got moisture resistant matches and the toilet paper, which can be used for kindling. These, my dad always used to call these matches gopher matches because you use one and you have to go for another. These matches are designed especially for damp climates, but they will not light when wet or after long exposure, several weeks to very damp air. So there you go. Once if you don't seal it back up with dry air, you're going to be in problems. And, I wonder how many people you could give this to, 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, that couldn't figure out how to work this. As we go further away from things, that would just be interesting to see. A lot of people now, even 30 years old, don't know how to read an analog clock. Where my daughter worked in a place, and there was no clock in the room, so she got a clock. It was an analog clock, and she had to teach the person she worked with how to read it. So Tabasco sauce. Now, I've noticed they had this separate, whether they're afraid. This appears to be real glass, that they were afraid this would break, and that's why they were keeping it separate from the other elements. I'm not sure. Then we've got sugar, a few calories. We've got, Bill's Brew freeze-dried coffee. So there we go. That would be going in this and being heated up if you wanted a hot coffee. But then, like I say, I don't know. Some of the heaters don't work great, and some work really well. So maybe you can put both in and heat them up. We've got a non-dairy creamer. We've got a moist towelette, latex-free. Some of these, I'm not sure about this, but some of these, if they're alcohol-based, again, they can be used to start a fire. We've got our salt with iodine. And then we have some regular chiclets. Now, I believe when they have them in a red foil, the gum actually contains caffeine, with the idea that a soldier could, take those, say they're on a midnight watch or something crazy, and they have to stay awake. They could take, those. And I think they have about as much caffeine as a, cup of coffee would have. So there we are. We're going to put those all back in. So there we go with that. And what shall we try? Let's try the crackers and apple jelly. I know the peanut butter is great. I haven't remembered getting this for a while. So with an paracord for visibility, if I drop it, hopefully I'll be able to find it again. 170 calories. Crooked. I had to get a water in the back of the van that I had bought earlier. To me, having something to drink, at least old fuddy-duddy age, I need something to drink with it, because one of the ways they make these products last so long is, of course, they're vacuum packed, but they're low moisture too. So just eating some of these things, I found the crackers, the pound cake, some of the cookies too, they're just extremely dry. And I would suggest that you have a drink with you before you put them in your mouth. Now, I had talked to some soldiers too that were active duty, and they said typically they would eat 2 to 3 of these a day. They were provided with 3, but they would eat probably only 2. So here's the MRE cracker, and you can say it doesn't look really like a cracker that you would buy a saltine. It's thicker, more substantial, 170 calories, 13% of your fat, practically no sodium or cholesterol. 0 sodium is a very low number. It's got 4 grams of protein, a gram of dietary fiber, and this in 2 package is 4 grams of protein, so that's good. Our apple jelly, of course, is basically going to be just calories. Nutritional facts, 70 calories. Okay, let's try it out. Tear at corners. Not me. I'm not tearing at the corner, I guess. 2, I've read that some soldiers would keep, particularly the peanut butter too, in their pockets, and they would just break it open when they want it, and like roll that up and, you know, eat it that way. Give it you a nice protein and calorie boost. MREs are made to not eat only that for 2. They're only meant to eat for 2 weeks straight, with the idea that you're going to get back to, you know, someplace where you can have a regular meal after 2 weeks. And they're made for soldiers to be out with, but they're not. They make a big deal of this when you read about it. This is not made to be your sole source of nutrition. There you can see the apple jelly. To me, if I was in a situation, if I was planning to need to eat these, like say I mentioned before, like Meals on Wheels and different things like that, I'd have a case of these MREs, and with it I would include some type of fiber. They have them in cookies or things you can put in drink or whatever, but I would always include that in a meal if that was going to be what I was going to eat. You know, only eat that for a few days. So let's try it out. I really like it. I tend to like these. They're not very salty. The apple jelly's great. The peanut butter's great. The chocolate peanut butter is really good. Soldiers, I read something that they would trade items. So in other words, I don't drink coffee, so I could probably, with someone, I could trade this in the bag maybe, if this doesn't have the bag. Maybe I could trade that, for a cracker or a peanut butter or something. So they sometimes do that. So there we go. Oh, I didn't completely finish the story with this. Okay, so this had broken scales, and I was just trying to look in a drawer, and I started looking around, and I found out that I could order plus scales for this, and like I said, the plus scales have the pen you can take out and use. And only place I could find it was from the Ukraine, believe it or not. I ordered it. It cost more to ship it than the item was itself, but I don't know. Just seems like you would think, as popular as these are, you would find parts in the U.S., but there aren't a lot. You have to either go to Europe or order it from somewhere. I wanted to mention too, of course, this Swiss Army knife, the thinner one, was used on the MacGyver series, the first series that was on TV. That came out in '85, I think, and the Leatherman company had just been formed 2 years before. So I would say that this definitely would have been the more common thing back then that people would have for a multi-tool rather than a Leatherman type of tool. And so I got the scales, the plus scales they're called. I took the old ones off, and you press fit the new ones on, and there you go. Now I've got the one thing that didn't work when I did it. I guess I didn't get the scale tight enough, so there's supposed to be a pin in here. If I put a pin in here, it rattles out, so that's no good. But I think that's just because I didn't get it tight enough when I put it on. I could fool with that, but I don't want to. That wasn't that important to me. So there. Oh, and the plus scale too. We got the little screwdriver. You can get other things that will fit in here. Third-party ones. There's a Fire Ant makes a small fire steel, believe it or not, that you can put in here in the corkscrew, and they make tinder that you could put in. So you would put the tinder in first and put this in, because let's face it, corkscrews are not something a lot of people use, but they are really good for, believe it or not, for untying knots that are too tight. But also Fire Ant makes a replacement. You take out the toothpick, and they basically sell a ferro rod, more or less this shape, so you can have a ferro rod all the time. But you have to learn how to use those, because you can break them right off if you don't. You have to support them when you're striking them and things. But there we go. Swiss Army knife and MRE contents, and try of the crackers, and we'll do the entree later. Bye.